Competition is a good thing. It forces companies to evaluate, to improve, and the biggest competitors in the big V-twin category of motorbikes are, of course, Harley-Davidson and Indian, as we all know. I've already created a few videos comparing specific models on these two. Now that I've had a chance to test ride 3 bikes from each company, let's recap this with 6 characteristics of these bikes and how each manufacturer differentiates themselves. Before we get started, if you're enjoying these videos, then please like and subscribe. I appreciate that. As you watch this video, if you have any comments, please leave them below. First, let's talk about handling. One of the biggest differences I found in these bikes is how they handle at road speed versus slow speed. Harley has a shorter wheelbase, which makes them better at slow speed handling. Indian's longer wheelbase and the weight distribution on their bigger bikes makes them much easier to handle at road speeds, in my opinion. While doing test rides, I struggled with the Harleys while on the road, but the Indians were much easier to handle. Conversely, I've struggled with the slow speed handling on my Chieftain. This leads me to the next big difference I found, and that is rider comfort. Because Harleys have a shorter wheelbase, they are a little more compact, and the Indians are a little more stretched out. Depending on how tall you are, this is either good or bad. I'm 5'6", which puts me on the short end of the stick. I find Harleys to be very comfortable to sit on and ride. However, I've now owned 2 Indians and both of them get uncomfortable for me after about a half an hour of riding, especially in the shoulder blade area of my back since I'm stretching my arms out to reach the bars. I also find it difficult to reach the kickstand on my Chieftain. Indian's answer to this has been to offer reduced reach equipment for short people. Reduced reach bars that come 2 inches closer to the rider, a reduced reach kickstand, reduced reach seats. The problem is that they don't offer any of these on a stock bike. You have to pay extra for them. So not only do you pay $20,000 or $30,000 for a new bike, you then have to pay several $100s more to make it comfortable if you're short. And that is super annoying to me. As someone who just bought a new Chieftain, the challenge I have is that the discomfort doesn't hit until about half an hour into the ride, and test rides only last 15 to 20 minutes. So at no point in the test ride did I feel uncomfortable. It wasn't until I bought the Chieftain and spent some time riding it that I began to notice the tension in my shoulder blades. I personally think Indian should offer reduced reach models in their lineup at stock prices. Don't make the consumer pay extra just because your bikes are designed for tall people. I know it sounds a little bit selfish and entitled, but if you're going to make bikes that are stretched out and most comfortable for tall people, then provide a stock option for short people too. That's just my opinion. Maybe the answer to that is to do it just on new bikes. If you buy a new bike, have the option to swap out the bars and the kickstand and the seat for reduced reach options at no cost, if you're ordering it online or something like that, as opposed to ordering something that's already in stock, or maybe reimburse the dealer to have them swap out the parts. I don't know. There's a solution here. I think they should implement something. And I have seen some comments on other videos of mine from tall riders that they find the Indians much more comfortable than the Harleys because the Harleys are shorter. Moving on to issue number 3. Since we're on the subject of rider comfort, let's talk about vibration. One of the reasons I did not enjoy my test rides on the Harleys was the vibration. I saw this while on my trip last week. We had 4 Harleys in the group. Every single one of them, when we came to a stop, you could see their hands in their coat sleeves shaking. At one point while we were getting to ride, I already had my Chieftain running. One of the Harley guys came over and put his hand on my grips to feel the lack of vibration. His comment was, "Wow, amazing." Kudos to Indian for making an engine that doesn't make your teeth fillings come loose. Number 4, engine power. This is not a big deal at all. In fact, I would put this as probably the least important difference between the two. Yes, when you compare apples to apples, the Indian does come out on top in terms of engine torque. But unless you're a power-hungry rider and want the biggest, torquiest engine out there, it doesn't matter. Harley's Milwaukee 8107 is plenty powerful for what you need. And yes, I know Harley's coming out with bigger engines on their new CVO models, but the prices on the CVOs generally make them unattainable for most people. Number 5 is infotainment features. My base model Chieftain has a 7-inch touchscreen with rider modes, while Harley still offers their small 4.3-inch screen on the base models. Indian's base speakers have twice the power of Harley's. My base level Indian Chieftain has an adjustable windshield as well. I know that's not infotainment, but it's in that same category of features of the bike. If you want to get more of an apples to apples comparison in the infotainment system, you're going to have to spend some serious upgrade money on the Harley. Last and probably the biggest issue that differentiates these two companies is the dealer network, size of the community, and customer loyalty. Harley is light years ahead of Indian in this regard. I acknowledge that Indian has come a long way in the 10 years or so since Polaris revived them, but they are still a long way behind Harley. And I believe this to be the biggest reason that Harley is the #1 motorcycle company in the US, while Indian doesn't even make the top 5 at this point. I know this is because Indian was basically out of business for somewhere around 50 years, and because of this they have a long way to go to catch up with the level of community and customer loyalty that Harley has built. So to summarize all this, I think Indian needs to make their bikes more feasible for short riders without making them spend a whole bunch more money than they already are. I also think Indian needs to do everything that they can to build their customer loyalty and community. I think that they are doing what they can in this regard. I don't know if I can say the same thing about some of their dealerships. Indian themselves seems to be doing okay with this. I've had mixed results with the dealers, unfortunately, but I think that's the case with anyone. I know there are Harley dealers that people have had bad experiences with. That seems to be kind of normal for dealerships of any kind. I think Harley needs to modernize their bikes, improve their infotainment systems without making people spend a whole bunch more money for features that are considered normal in this day and age. Look at any of the other bike manufacturers and you'll see that touchscreens, good sound systems, rider modes are all considered standard features. They're not an upgrade. I also think Harley needs to figure out the weight distribution on their Street Glide and Road Glide models. As a new rider in the bagger category, the Indians have figured this out and made bikes that are much easier to handle at road speeds. So those are my feelings, my summary on the Indian versus Harley battle in the big V-twin category. If you have any thoughts or experiences that agree or disagree with these points, leave a comment below. Thanks everyone, have a great day, stay safe.